Hey guys, this is Rockman Rocks from Backstage 360. I'm sitting here at the NAMM show with my buddy Chris Buck, one of the top bass players I know. Chris and I became friends 4 or 5 years ago through some mutual friends. And this guy's had an amazing career in the industry starting when he was a little kid. We're going to talk to Chris a little bit about that. And we're also going to talk about his new signature bass, which you're going to see as well as hear about. So, Chris, good seeing you again, buddy. And,
hey, same here, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about how you got started.
Initially, man, as a kid, I was a vocalist. My parents were in the music business. My mom was in the arts. She was a ballet teacher, and so they started me very young. I toured at age 10, toured the country. I was with a group that sang for the Queen of England and went to Paris, Australia, and did that until I was about 11 years old. And then I sang opera from 13 to 17. So basically my music background was really in vocalization. I toured with a band from 76 to 86 as a guitar player, singer, and had a couple of kids, got married. And I took a long hiatus from the business, actually. I was out of the business for 17 years. It was a strange sequence of events that led me to playing bass. I happened to have a bass at my house that was really just a log. It wasn't really a bass. And a friend of mine who's a great fusion guitarist asked me if I would sit in with them one day when their bass player couldn't make it, and really turned my life around. I got into bass playing, and by 2005 I had been playing about 3 years. I decided to do my own project, and I started financing a project on my own that I was recording here at Tustin Ranch, and I composed all the songs myself, and it was a strange sequence of events. Alan Holdsworth came into the studio one day, and he was doing some transfers for Planet X, and we just started talking, and we're both old guys, and I talked about when I had seen Soft Machine, which was a band he was with Jimi Hendrix back in '68, and that was actually prior to Alan being in the band, but we had some great conversations, and he was listening to one of my tunes, and I said, yeah, I was actually thinking of you when I composed this. And he said, well, I'll play on it. And he laid a solo on one of my first songs on the album that became Progosaurus. And that really changed my whole life in music. At that point in time, anytime you can do a recording with Alan Holdsworth, it's really on the level of playing with Jimmy or somebody like that. It's
absolutely,
so everything evolved at that point. I got involved with Derek Sherinian initially, and Derek produced about half of the album. Derek brought in his friend Virgil, who I was already in awe of, and
Virgil Donati. We're talking.
Virgil Donati came in. He played on about half the tracks. Brian Tichy was hanging out at Derek's a lot at that point in time, and he played on about half the tracks. Brett Garced was in town, and who his style is somewhat similar to Alan, and Brett is a fantastic guitarist. I was honored to work with him, and he and I recorded the remainder of the tracks. And so when that album was released, it was like, who's this guy, Chris Buck? Because I had really been out of the loop completely for decades, So and that one kind of put me on the map, to say the least. So from that point on, after Progosaurus came out, I've actually toured with some other bands. Because I'm a singer, it opened up some other doors for me in terms of touring. And so I've toured a bit with Jim Messina. I did a tour this last year with him. And then I met Tommy Heath last year, who's a fantastic songwriter, and who was, in the band Tommy Two-Tone. And he and I have toured together this last year, and we have some more touring plans for the upcoming year. As you know, I had a band called Trebus, which was a hard rock fusion band, and I'm hoping to revive that band in 2017. We have all the songs. We just need to get the time to get in the studio and get them recorded.
That's because you're all busy all the time doing other projects.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did this whole thing come together with the show people?
Well, I got to show you this bass. I brought this today because my buddy Pete Schold, who builds these basses, he builds 30 or 40 basses a year, is not at the NAMM show this year, so I wanted to bring this, what I call this the Turquoise Terror. It's actually a Slayer 5-string, a Schold Slayer 5-string. This is my second bass that he made me, and this took a couple of years, totally well worth it. This, to me, Pete's one of the best bass makers in the country, maybe in the world.
This is kind of an interesting concept here.
Yeah. This is a ramp, and basically there are 2 pickups underneath this. And so I wanted to use this concept. What this does, it kind of limits your stroke on your finger plucking, which some people absolutely don't like it. They like to dig in deeper. I love it. It really causes the articulated 16th notes to be very precise and very rhythmic. So I fell in love with it immediately.
That was his concept?
No, it's something that's been used. Actually, boy, the guy who played bass in Tribal Tech, his name escapes me right now, was the guy who really came up with the ramp idea. So it's spread throughout the business. Some people like it, some people don't. But he's also, we're getting ready on making another bass. He's going to make me a 6-string headless, fretless, which will be my next one. And yeah.
Being gone?
Right, that'll be gone.
It'll be down here?
And it shortens the bass up a little bit. It's really difficult to tour with basses unless you don't mind putting them in luggage. And there are a number of companies. I mean, these basses go for $35,000 to $7,000, and you can't, like if you fly Southwest, they won't insure the bass. It has to go in luggage, or if you get on early, you can put it in the overhead. So the smaller the bass is, the easier it is to get in the overhead. So that's why I'm getting a headless made at this point.
Okay, good idea. Makes sense.
But I was with Carvin for a long time. I really love the Carvin company, and I love their basses. I met Pete at the NAMM show one time when I was doing something for Carvin, and I played one. I could never go back. I mean, there's consistently a difference in quality of basses. And there are many boutique bass makers, I will say, that they make beautiful basses, but they don't necessarily, some of them are great, but these play like, it's like the difference in closing a door on a Ford Escort or a $150,000 AMG. You know,
Right.
it's very precise. It's not for a beginner, you know, this isn't for a novice. If you're an advanced player, the fact is it's gonna help your playing. It's gonna improve it that little bit that's gonna make every night better.
Yeah, and basically, what type of pickups are these?
These are humbuckers, and these are Schold pickups. It's a Jonathan East preamp, and this is the volume. It has one volume control, and then it has a pickup sweep switch. So this sweeps from the bridge pickup to the neck pickup, and you can, of course, get any position in between. It has an active bass control, an active high-end control, which also you can pop it up so that it gives it more high-end, and then it has a sweepable mid-range, and then this is a passive tone control. And you can also make the bass passive if you like.
Okay.
And, you know, some of the greatest bass players on the planet are playing. Damien Erskine plays this, who I have total respect for. I just love it, man. There are a few instruments where you just go, I'm done. I mean, actually, all my other basses are for sale at this point.
Heard that here, folks. Chris has got basses for sale.
That's right.
Contact us at BackStage 360. We'll give you his number.
Yeah. So I have recorded a few songs with this. I've worked with Andy Codewine, who played in the Marco Miniman projects. You know, Marco Miniman from the Aristocrats. Yeah. And Andy and I have recorded a number of projects together with Marco Miniman, and Andy played on my Three Crows project. Currently, I'm working on a whole bunch of material for 2017 that's going to be a little more rock-oriented. It's still going to be very advanced playing, but more rock, and I'm going to sing more on this album again. I only sang one song on the Three Crows project. Another thing that's coming up, hopefully in February, is I'm going to shoot a new video with, the video that I did with Virgil Donati and Brett Garsed a couple of years ago, got amazing response on YouTube. And that was just an exercise I wrote. I wrote an exercise to show bass players how to do sweep arpeggios, double hand tapping, harmonics.
Can you show us a little bit of that?
Well, I could, I guess. The initial thing that I came up with was with playing a sweep arpeggio, which has now become very popular, and of course the popping, which is basically a Victor Wooten triple thumbing technique, and then harmonics, of course, and plucking harmonics, where you play the note and pluck the harmonic at the same time. Anyway, I was trying to put all those techniques into an exercise, and when I was done with it, I thought that might make a cool song, and I sent it. Yeah, so I sent it to Virgil, and it's very straight ahead. It's actually all in 4/4. It's not a tough song, but it ended up being very popular and created a style. I see a lot of people using those techniques now, which is good. That's cool.
Well, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. But so there was a song on the last Three Crows album, which is called Dunia Dawara, which was composed by jazz guitarist Chris Taylor, who's also, he plays keyboards and he does a lot of very unique and modern things with audio in the studio. Very creative guy. And I got with him on the Three Crows album, and I said, there's a song I heard that you wrote for another fella called One, and almost insanely tough to play, almost impossible to play. And I said, I'd like you to do one like that for me. And so he composed this song, Dunia Dawara, and I had spoken with Virgil at one point in time about doing a live video on it, and that's one of the few songs where Virgil Donati said, that was an effing hard song, because Virgil can play anything. Right. And so that's in the works. That's going to be coming up in the next couple months.
Video?
Yeah, we're going to do a new video on that particular song. I'm still shedding the song. It is so insanely hard. And of course, when Virgil plays it, it makes it a little more difficult because he's outside all the time. But so that's coming up. And then, like I say, this year I'd really like to revive Trebus, which was really just a labor of love. That's Jay Sitar on drums, who's a fantastic. I consider him one of the world's greatest unknown drummers. Very musical, some of the fastest feet on the planet. He plays in a fantastic horn fusion band called Dog Mansion, and then Byron Fry will be playing guitar on that stuff. And he's a great composer, great guitar player.
You'll be playing the bass and the
I'll
vocals?
be playing bass. And I'm going to try to put some vocals in this thing too. Byron's a great singer as well, so hopefully this will all turn into something good in 2017. There are plans. I've got some dates already lined up to play with Tommy Heath this year. Nothing with Jim Messina at this point, but always hopeful.
Yeah, and that'll change, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
And you're open to touring with other artists?
I am. I'm looking for a gig, man.
You heard that here too as well. I mean, if you haven't heard Progosaurus, go on YouTube and check this video out with Virgil Donati and Brett Garson. I highly recommend it. It's totally different, I think, from what I grew up listening to. This guy's, you just heard it, he wrote the song as an exercise. It turned into a freaking song. Quick question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Moving forward, if people want to get in touch with you for gigs, or they want to get in touch with you to talk about endorsement deals,
Sure.
or anything, how do they do that?
Well, I do have my music, my .com, which is chrisbuckmusic.com, and there are contact emails on there, as well as my Facebook site. There's a Chris Buck Progressive Bassist Facebook site, and then I have a personal Facebook page as well. I am always available. I'm self-managed. I don't have a management company at this point, so you can get a hold of me. My phone numbers and everything are on there. So, yeah.
Well, hey, listen, I know you got a busy day.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the time, man.
Dude, love it.
Fun visiting.
Yeah.
Let's try to catch up before Sunday hits again. Maybe we can sit down and have a coffee, or maybe grab a bite together.
Love to do it.
Keep doing what you're doing, man. I love what you do.
All right. Thank you so much, Tony. Appreciate it.
All right, this is Rockman Rocks from BackStage 360. We're out of here.
Thank you.